On this episode of Team Building Saves the World.
There are some people in society that are brilliant, and there are some people in society that are horrible at it.
Thank you. I have been both in my lifetime, so thank you.
Right, exactly. It's not a constant. If your task is to think outside of the box, you have to be in an environment and with a group where you can say stupid stuff and you're not going to feel like an idiot.
Right.
As far as I know, this is not a dress rehearsal.
Right. Nobody's come back yet to say otherwise, so let's keep living that way.
Well, one guy, but who knows?
Hello, team. It's me, your old friend Rich Rinnensland, host of Team Building Saves the World. And have I got an episode for you today? In this episode, I have the absolute pleasure of interviewing an Emmy Award-winning actor, television host, best-selling author, as well as keynote speaker and workshop guide, Mark DeCarlo. But before we do, I have to share some love with all of my supporters at Team Bonding. If your team is ready to experience teamwork through the power of play, then visit teambonding.com to learn more. Now, team, I will warn you, this is a long one, but each minute of it is as necessary as it is entertaining as I speak with Jimmy Neutron's dad, Mark DeCarlo. Mark, thank you so much for coming on. Mark DeCarlo, for my team out there, you guys know him without knowing him, or maybe you do know him because you've seen him on your television. You've definitely heard him. He has been all around the world. He's been in several different things that you have seen, loved, and adored, and now I get to have him here as my guest. Mark, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it, man. I really,
Rich,
really do.
It is a pleasure to do this as part of my community service.
Tell the judge, you've earned a lot, and the orange vest looks great on you, just from my audio.
Doesn't it? It's very slimming, I find.
Right. And now cars won't hit you. It's fantastic. Okay. But you have been an Emmy Award-winning TV host. You're an improv actor. You're all these amazing things. When did you, first off, let's start with that. When did you realize that you wanted to be in entertainment?
Let's see. It was sixth grade, and we were doing a pageant at St. Joe's Elementary School in Downers Grove, Illinois.
Nice.
And it was about the presidents. And we were having there was a part from Kennedy's speech, his inaugural speech, that classic speech. And I copped a Boston accent and tried to do my best sixth grade version of President John Fitzgerald Kennedy. And it went over really well. And I also realized that in the weeks leading up to putting on the school pageant in the basement of the church, I was exempted from much classwork to rehearse.
Oh, lovely.
And I despised grade school. And anything that could get me out of class, I was in. So I enjoyed that. I've always been, I think some people are born funny and some people can learn to be funny. I'd like to think that I was born with a certain thing and I've kind of worked on it, but I've always been, my favorite quote about Groucho Marx, one of arguably the funniest person of the 20th century.
Sure.
That he heard things funny. You could say a sentence and 99 people would hear that, and Groucho would hear it a different way and then be able to comment on it. And that's just how my brain works. And I've been able to, through high school, I was doing comedy in the local clubs in the Chicagoland area, playing my guitar. I went to college at UCLA, got into a group of stand-up comedians, all of whom are now multimillionaire screenwriters, the guys that wrote Bill and Ted, Fight Club, Meet the Fockers.
Excellent.
The Lethal Weapon chain. We were all a group together, and we would do stand-up every Friday, once a month on a Friday, and it would be 4 or 5 student comedians and then a headliner that was a real comedian. And we would do the show, and then in one of the most brilliant ideas that our teacher had, the comedian would then go and sit down with us at a bar or something, and he would go through everyone's act. All right, Mark, and you get 5 minutes. Mark, you started with this, maybe not a great choice, maybe do this. Who's your character? What's your and went through everyone's act as a peer.
Yeah.
And we were clearly hadn't earned that status in the stand-up world at the time. But because those guys, Robert Wool, Seinfeld, Gary Shandling, rest in peace, Kevin Nealon, people that were not famous at the time, but went on to become famous, took the time on a Friday night, which is a busy night for stand-ups, to come and hang out with students and mentor us. The results have been spectacular for all the people in the group. And
amazing.
It taught me a really valuable lesson that teams are always better than an individual in any kind of creative enterprise.
And I was just going to say, I mean, what is it that brought you from this very successful career you've been having for yourself into the world of team building and speaking with marketing companies and so on and so forth to the corporate side of it all?
It's the same thing, right? Okay. I mean, after college, after UCLA, I stayed in LA and won a bunch of money on a game show. I didn't have to get a job, so I started acting. And told my parents, I'm going to give it 2 years. If I'm not making a living, I'll go get a day job. And I never had to do that, thank God. Then I mentioned I was from Chicago, the Second City Improv Theater, which has been, I would say it's the Harvard of improvisational comedy.
Right.
Mike Myers, Nia Vardalos, most of the SNL people came from there, or the Groundlings here in LA. They opened a theater here in Santa Monica, and I was one of the founding members of that theater, along with Colin Mockery and Ryan Stiles and Brad Sherwood and Andy Dick and Megan Kavanaugh, Andrea Martin, one of my comedy goddesses.
Yep.
And improvisation, group improvisation, Second City improvisation is all about the team. It's all about, there's 6 of us and we're going to go out with 0 script and we're going to entertain people for an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah. So
you have to trust the people that you're on stage with. You have to respect the people that you're on stage with. And you have to have a communication that is, it's like jazz music. It's, it's an eye, it's a look, it's a feel, it's listening. It's all the skills that are important for people in business, whether you're selling something or you are developing something or you're on a creative team. If your task is to think outside of the box, you have to be in an environment and with a group where you can say stupid stuff and you're not going to feel like an idiot.
Right.
Because if that's the box that exists, to do something better, you got to come up with an idea outside the box. And if people are afraid of being made fun of or scapegoated or, God, that was stupid, shut up. You know what? Sometimes the best ideas come from the loading dock and not the C-suite. So teams have to build a system where everyone earns their spot at the table and is respected. And if you do say something stupid, which I do all the time, the correct response is, well, all right, but I don't think we want to have monkeys picking their noses on the moon, but what if we had a monkey in a zoo and he was picking pictures off, everyone leapfrogs off the people that came before them. And eventually you can come to an idea that's outside the box because you've been taking in all this material and honing it according to whatever your particular remit or your job is.
Nice.
And most companies, it's changing now, but most companies, you're on a team. Why? Well, because I said, this is what the org chart says. Go in the room with those 4 people and come out with a new product by Friday. Yeah, but he doesn't listen to me because I'm a woman, or, I'm from Puerto Rico, so they think I'm stupid,
right.
Or I have a funny Boston accent. So it is both in the best interests of the individual's personal wellness and happiness and the enterprise that they work for to focus on these kind of things. And that's what I talk about in my workshops and in my keynotes. And that's what I enjoy teaching. I teach a lot of the improvisational stuff that you and I have learned throughout our careers, because it's when you're making a sales presentation, you're putting on a show.
Yeah. Exactly right. Exactly right. Yes.
And if people are not interested in what you're saying, or you cannot communicate the pieces of your puzzle in a cogent fashion to arrive at that aha moment in the person you're talking to, you're wasting your time. So you need to develop presentations and ideas and a working group that is fearless egalitarian and fun, and that feeds the soul of the individuals, which lowers your quit rate, lowers your quiet quit rate, keeps people engaged and happy, and putting out better work and more of it.
So
it's that simple.
What kind of things were these companies who were coming to you to speak with them, to speak to their larger groups? What kind of things were they coming to you saying, here's what we feel like we either need to fix, or where we're just not getting the lift off that we want for this program?
Ideation is tough.
Okay.
Because not everybody is like everything else. Creativity is the bell curve, right?
Right.
There are some people in society that are brilliant, and there are some people in society that are horrible at it.
Thank you. I have been both in my lifetime, so thank you.
Right, exactly. It's not a constant.
Right.
And most people are in the middle. So you need to create an environment that supports everyone, and it raises all the boats. It makes everyone feel more creative. Even if every idea they say today is rejected, one of them might make somebody else think something and go, wait a minute, I never thought of that. What if we could teach dogs to talk? Then we could. So especially when you're dealing with people higher than you are on the organizational chart, people are afraid to look stupid. People are afraid to piss their boss off or to say something that makes them appear to be dumb. So I think it falls to the leaders to create the environments that we had at Second City, where there's no dumb answers, there's no dumb questions.
Yep.
Say what's on your mind, and together we will arrive at a better solution. I mean, another analogy I use a lot is sometimes if you're on a baseball team, you have to bunt. Now nobody wants to bunt.
Yeah, they always want to be the home run hitter. Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
You want to hit the home run in the bottom of the ninth and win the game.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
But sometimes if it's a one-run game and there's a big hitter behind you and there's a guy on first base, the best thing you can do for the team is sacrifice yourself, put the bunt down, move the guy to second base so a single scores him and run.
Yep.
And in the celebration, they're celebrating the guy who just crossed the plate, but it would have been impossible without your contribution.
And there's
so
the team.
I think if you develop a quality communication bubble, let's call it, with a team, everyone owns the successes equally and takes the failures equally.
Sure.
Which I don't know. I know you did improv. I don't know if you've done stand-up, but when you fail as a stand-up, it's all on you.
I got to be honest with you. I never did it because of that fear. I would rather be on a stage with 6 other people who are, even if they're looking to me as like, you're the experienced one, get us started, get us moving. I would much rather do that 1,000,000 times than be that one person, no matter how charming I might actually be or hilarious that might actually be.
Yeah. Well, and you know, with the 6 people, you go out afterwards and you're sharing the successes with the 6 people, right?
Yep.
And it's great. And even when you bomb, it's funny.
Yes.
Because it's like, well, last week we were funny. I don't know what happened this week. I mean, it was crap, but what the hell? It's only 1/6 my fault. So it's like going through a fire or a horrible event as a group. It bonds you and brings out character and things like that. So just the concept of a team, I think is very important. And this is one thing I've noticed. I'm not big into data or studies or things like that.
Okay.
But I have noticed with women my age, 40s, 50s.
Yeah.
There's a competitive, and these are just my personal observations from my lifetime.
Sure.
Single women, there's a competitiveness among women that is far more cutthroat than the kinds of competitiveness men experience. And my theory is it's because most guys, as they grow up, have been on teams and understand sometimes you have to bunt.
Okay.
Women athletes traditionally, and this is totally not true anymore, but 20, 30 years ago, you were a tennis player or a swimmer or a solo endeavor where you were competing
Right.
against your teammates, and one of you was going to win and one of you was going to lose. And I think with the advent of more proliferation of female team sports, I love watching college women's softball.
Yeah.
It's impossible to hit that stuff, right? And volleyball and lacrosse, these team
WNBA.
sports, right?
Huge.
WNBA.
Yeah.
It acculturates women as far as team building goes in those same ways. And I think it's better for mental health, it's better for wellness, and it's better for happiness, right? A teammate, there's a difference between a friend and a teammate. Teammate's better.
Exactly. Back in my performing days, when I started taking on the mantle of director and teacher and so on and so forth, I would always tell everybody that I know, everybody I'm working with, I want you to be as stupid as you can be for this next bit, for this next scene. Or if we were doing an improv group, it was always, all right, I'm going to give $5 to whoever has the dumbest answer for anything we have, and then see how well everybody else builds off of it. And the thing that I noticed, where, yes, I think men have the ability to recover more quickly from that moment of feeling that insecurity, that foolishness, women were always the first ones to jump on and accept that that's where they were going to have to go. I don't know whether that's a cultural thing where, especially back in our day, women were always made to feel that they are of lesser than everybody else that was in their team or surrounding them.
Right. And I think women's team sports specifically, it wires the brain in a different way.
Right.
Right. If you're on a volleyball team, you could be the setter, you could be the spiker, you could be the defensive person.
Right.
Everyone has a role. And if you perform your role at an exceptional level, the team will benefit. And there's value in every role. The CEO makes a lot more money than the guy putting packing peanuts in the boxes in the loading bay and shipping them out.
Yeah.
But if the guy packing the peanuts screws up, the product gets there and it's broken, and you get a whole chain of returns and BS that you don't need. That person needs to feel as much a part of the endeavor and as important as everybody else, because they are. It's a different skill set, right?
Right.
But it's part of the pie chart. Everyone needs to be functioning at an optimal level to get optimal results. And to get back to your question that you asked about 4 hours ago, it's hard for companies to ask for help in this amorphous realm because it's hard to know that you're failing at it.
Right.
Because the same people that are afraid to speak up in meetings are not going to go to their boss and say, you know what, you're kind of a shitty boss because you don't listen to everybody.
Sure.
The environment doesn't exist where you can say that. A good environment is you can go into your boss and say, you know what, boss, I think you're missing this because you're doing this. We're down here and this is what I'm seeing. What do you think about that?
Yeah.
And I have an interesting story on that realm. When my first big TV job was hosting a comedy dating show for Fox. And it was the #1 show in late night. We did 600 episodes. Very popular show.
Can you tell us what it was called?
It was called Studs. It was a dating show.
Okay. Now I remember. Yes.
Very popular, very of the moment, and it was all improvised. So it was really fun for me to perform it. We had an intern on our staff, this redheaded dude who had just moved here from Scotland. His name was Gareth. And the job of the intern, and he was either my age or a little bit older. I was in my 20s and he was just starting out, but he was young. And his job, we would shoot 6 shows in an 8-hour day. So we'd shoot a half-hour show. I would come in, I would change my clothes, have a little snack, go back out, do that 6 times in a day. So the pace was like this.
Yep.
And I'd like to have a little, some grapes or something in between every show to keep my energy up.
Okay.
So he would come in every day and there would be some food waiting while I was changing my clothes and being briefed on the next show. And after about a week, he came to me and he said, I notice you're not eating this, but you're always eating that. What would you like? What's your ideal thing? I said, well, I don't know. I like red flame seedless grapes. I like some cheese and maybe some rye crisp crackers, but whatever you want is fine. From that day forward, that's what I had every single time. And it was in the right proportion. And it was not, it's not brain surgery.
Sure.
He saw something, helped me do my job better. Cut to 15 years later, the guy's running NBC Universal. Because he pays attention.
Yeah.
And understands that even the littlest person, even this I don't know, $5 an hour intern, literally putting cheese and grapes on a plate, was an integral part of the success of the show. And that attention to detail and that self-respect and that initiative has served him extremely well in his career. And
Nice.
that's what you can, if you build the right kind of team, which we had on Studs and which they had in spades on Curb Your Enthusiasm when I worked on it, and on Seinfeld, and not so much on some other shows.
Right.
Everyone feels invested in the overall success. So I'm going to do my job the best that I can, because I know that the people at the top are paying attention, realize that I'm helping, and value my work. And it's difficult for companies to create that structure, because the people that are not implementing it in the present are the people at the top. So you have to be able to talk to the people in charge and say, guys, I know you mean well, but I think you're falling short here, there, and there. And there's an easy way to fix it, a fun way to fix it. People come to these workshops, they have a great time. We play improv games. Sometimes we'll put out, like if it's a 3 or 4 day thing, we'll put on an improv show at the end with people from the company. And it gives people skills that translate exceptionally well to business and endeavors. And I think every human being's number one job is to make themselves as happy as possible. Because as far as I know, this is not a dress rehearsal.
Right. Nobody's come back yet to say otherwise, so let's keep living that way.
Well, one guy, but who knows? He's got quotes all over the place.
True.
There's nothing, there's no rebate, right? And I know people that are incredibly wealthy who are miserable because they hate their jobs.
Yeah.
And they wake up every day and they're like, oh, I wake up every day and I do something different every day, and it's always fun. 99% of the time, it's challenging and enjoyable. And even the bad days, I audition 100 times to get one job.
Right.
Just that whole process, if you can find joy and happiness in it, because I'm doing what I want to do, it colors the rest of your life. So if as a company, I can give those benefits to the people that are working for me, they're going to be grateful. They're not going to quit. They're going to work harder, because to them, it's their company. They're not punching a clock.
Right.
There's a mentality difference between entrepreneurs and people that work for a 9-to-5 paycheck. What you want to do is bend the mentality of the 9-to-5ers and make them see themselves as co-entrepreneurs of your endeavor. Because just philosophically, you're being nicer to them. But if you just wanted to go crass ROI, you will squeeze more work out of them per dollar if they feel invested in whatever your business is, right? They'll do the extra thing. Right. We were talking earlier off camera, which was frankly way better than this actual podcast. About
now they're going to want to hear that. You're just making more work for me, Mark.
Michaela can put that out on social media. We were talking about Southwest Airlines.
Yeah.
I fly Southwest all the time. In my travel book, I say they're the best airline in America. They're flexible, but the funnest thing about them is they do the best FAA, your seat back, the seat belt,
the safety checklist. Yeah.
Right. It's always funny. It's the pilots can be funny and entertaining, and everyone's happy to be doing their job. Even if they're doing, a crappy little puddle jumper from X to Y, and they're going to be stuck in the middle of nowhere for 2 days before they route back. they are enjoying their job. People that wanted to travel found a job with Southwest and are rewarded for their personal idiosyncrasies and their personal contributions to the endeavor. And those are the kind of people you want working for you because they are loyal, they work hard, and if you truly allow them to share in the success of your company, you benefit. As the CEO, you benefit. And there's studies out there that show that the ROI on wellness and happiness programs is in excess of 100%. So it doesn't cost you anything. You're making lives better just in general, and you're increasing the vitality of your endeavor. It's a win-win, but to convince companies that they need it, you have to tell them that you're not perfect right now.
Yeah.
And it's kind of your fault, Mr. Boss Person. Not your fault, but it's your fault.
Sure.
And there are ways to fix it. And that's always a fun dance to do with people, because if that mojo is not in place at the lower levels, it's definitely not at place at the top. And I'm sure you've run into companies where it's very territorial and very cutthroat. And, people at those companies don't last long because they realize the company is in it for whatever the company can get out of you. Right. So now all the employees are like, well, I'm going to get whatever I can out of these people and then get the hell out of here. And it's a totally different mindset. It is antithetical to teamwork, and it's antithetical to building a long-term, low dropout machine that creates your product or service for the long haul. They're two completely different ends of the spectrum. So what I try and do whenever I work for a company is just move them more along the line of happiness and wellness. And to me, it's to get back to your original question, which was actually 6 days ago. It makes me feel good. It's very similar to putting on a show, which is what I've been doing since 6th grade. It's just your goal is not necessarily just to get people to laugh, but it's that aha moment where they're like, oh, I get it. I can be happy. And some people that I talk to are in the wrong jobs.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
they
very true.
They shouldn't be here.
Right.
And, it's easy to tell a 23-year-old you're in the wrong job, go somewhere else. Yeah. But if someone's 45 and they have a spouse and some kids, it's a more difficult transition for them to make. Yet I still think that it is a beneficial transition for them to make, because if you're miserable, it doesn't matter how much money you have, you're miserable.
Yeah.
And the only person that's ever going to make you happy is you. So if you're not happy, you've got to change. And the courage it takes to enact those changes is something I also try and bolster in people.
I gotta tell you, Mark, I love everything that you've been saying, but I want to point out to my audience, you're being very, very clever with me in the fact that you have already named at least 2 of your 5 simple strategies to win life. It's like you do this for a living.
It's what I do, Rich. Well, you know what though? It's again, I'm not a certified meeting planner. I'm not a psychologist. I am taking the experiences that I've gathered through a 20-year award-winning show business career. Yeah. And figuring out the patterns in that success that can be applied to the corporate world. And the more I research and the more I get into it, the more I see that it's virtually identical. I did a week on Seinfeld, one of the most successful television shows in history.
Yes.
Right. Exactly. Okay. What was different about the process, the factory that makes that show compared to the factories that make some of the other shows that I've been on that were not as successful, is one of the things is you had brilliant writers and actors. Sure. But typically when you're on a sitcom, when one of the stars isn't in a scene that you're rehearsing, they're in their trailer on their phone screwing around.
Right.
All week long on Seinfeld, if one of the main characters was not acting in the scene, they were in their chairs 2 feet off screen watching and going, wait. You know what? Julia, you should take that ball. Jason, you should say that line. Michael, come in a little bit later. And they would try it. because they were a team,
Yeah.
all peers, and the focus of all those people, plus Larry and plus Jerry and Andy and all the directors and the writers, the top of their craft people in the industry at the time, was dedicated to one thing: making people laugh their asses off on Friday night when they taped the show.
Right.
Period. So if I have an idea that's going to maybe hurt Michael Richards' feeling, but is going to give Julie a bigger laugh, I say it. I saw the craft service guy interrupt a rehearsal and say, you know what? What you could do with that bagel is, and they used it in the show.
Awesome.
Now, that wouldn't fly on a lot of sets.
Sure.
Right? Go back to the food. I'm the director. I'm going to do it. Yeah, that team approach is exactly what industry needs and business needs to be successful. You have to assemble a team of talented people, and then you have to get them to all work together. And a lot of times those two things are mutually exclusive or create a lot of friction. So you have to convince, what I try and do is convince everyone, every stakeholder, that what's best for you personally and your checkbook and your career is to be part of a Seinfeld, not part of a whatever.
Perfect.
And some people, frankly, are resistant to it. And, I don't end up working for them. But people that understand it and are open to it and who truly want to do something great, they're like, yeah, it's basically free. I'll make the money back because I'm not going to be training 20% new workers every year. I'm going to be training 3% new workers every year. Let's give it a shot. And then once I do it once, I would say 80% of my business are repeat customers. I worked for the credit unions in North America for 7 years in a row until COVID came and they stopped having their meetings.
Okay.
And that particular group, the CUNA, now they're called America's Credit Unions. They're kind of the little brothers of the banking industry. Can't even say banking. Savings and loans are different because they're technically owned by the people who put their money in. And if you've ever seen It's a Wonderful Life, you understand what I'm saying.
Right.
Whereas banks are a totally different structure.
Yes.
So what the people in the credit union movement, what they call it, is they are proselytizing about the importance of no fees, no this, we're here for you, you're part of us. And it's a different mentality, and they are evangelists for this because it helps people, right? Okay. Banks don't particularly help people, but savings and loans do. So it's that I watched their commitment to what their business was, and it really inspired me to go, you know what, I could probably do what I do in entertainment and bring this idea to companies, and it turns out it was true. It has been true.
I'm loving everything you're saying, man, and I'm so on board.
I feel like I'm talking too much.
No, you're doing great. Dude,
I'm talking too much, Rich.
You're not.
Post it up.
We're a team here. We're doing. So you're saying I'm slacking? Oh, all right. Now I get it. Well, let me ask you this then. One thing we love.
Right now, you're talking too much.
Sorry. No, I'm kidding. I'm never sorry for talking too much. At Team Bonding, the one thing that we love is the creative angle. We love creative ways of bringing people together. I think it's part of the reason why, since 2009, I'm still in this company, is the fact that and here I am proselytizing them as the voice for their podcast.
And look at your face.
Yeah.
You are a happy person.
I am.
Doing a job that rewards you in a variety of different ways.
Thank you for going in that direction about my face. I appreciate it.
Well, but I'm sure you could be making the same amount of money that you're making.
No, so much more.
Else
I could be making so much more money, but I would be far less happy. You are absolutely correct.
There you go.
Yeah. But let me ask you.
I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. What is the most unusual or most fun experience of team building that you've been a part of? Give me some of that experience you've gone through. Tell me about it, and tell me why you think that even though it was so far left of center, it still worked.
One thing I like to do when I'm hosting like a sales meeting or something is improvise with the audience know who's out there.
Okay.
Another recidivist client, as I call them, was the Sonic hamburger chain.
Oh, nice.
And I did their meeting, their national meetings for a bunch of years, again, up until COVID.
Mm.
And one thing we did that was really fun one year is they were launching a new burger or a new food product of some kind.
Sure.
And they had all the owners of all the franchises around the Southeast there at this big event in Orlando, probably. And they were talking about, they were going to do this big launch. So I came out and in one of my speeches and I said, you know what, we're launching this new hamburger and we need a commercial campaign. So we're going to pick some people out of the audience here and we're going to improvise a commercial about this new product. And I picked a woman who was from Florida who owned a store and the vice president of sales of the entire corporation and had them on stage together. So you've got an uber boss with someone far down the org chart, and the setup of the commercial had them working together in a pair, and then we had a puppet for some reason in there. And
because why not? Puppets make everything
right,
better.
exactly. You got one, you might as well use it. And they did a couple versions of this a commercial that we made up on the spot. You know, give me a location. All right, they're selling about whatever it was, and it was hilarious each time. I think we did it 3 times. It was hilarious each time, and each time we did it, the interaction between the vice president of sales and the lowly franchisee got more and more comfortable and intense. So by the 3rd time that we did it, they were like Lucy and Ricky, bantering back and forth, and it made the conceit of the commercial better. But I think it also underlined to them, it's like, you know what? Talk to your people. Good ideas come from your people, because the scope of the commercial was the franchisee was pitching the guy a bunch of crazy ideas, and I told her the crazier the better, and then he would justify each one. You know, awesome. We're going to give a ride into space for every purchase, and he had it was whatever it was. And
I got to say, I know my team out there is wondering, what did the puppet have to do with it?
It was like a King Friday puppet from Mr. Rogers. And at one point, the woman, the VP was talking, and she goes, shh, let's hear what Gary has to say. And he's like, I don't think that's a good idea. It killed. And, you know, now part of that is being able to talk for 5 or 6 minutes.
Yeah. Me
watching the audience and seeing who's into it. You don't want to bring someone on stage who's going to be a sad sack.
Right.
And this woman had it was an open bar event. So she was feeling good.
Nice.
But it worked, and it kind of exemplified in a very compressed format what I try and make people aware of. Then I give them the tools to engage in this kind of creativity and communication and idea building and green hatting and not being afraid. People right now are terrified of AI and what it's going to do. And I think rightfully so. It's going to decimate a lot of jobs.
Yeah.
You know, if you go back and look at newspapers at the turn of the 20th century, there were tons of articles about how evil automobiles were, how it scared horses. They were going to ruin cities. They were going to do all this stuff. And you know what? 20 years later, you couldn't find a blacksmith in the world. So all the blacksmiths got decimated by the automobile industry. And that's going to happen again. But there are also ways to inoculate yourself to a certain extent from what AI can do and use it to your benefit. As a tool. I still think, because first of all, AI just feeds on human creativity.
Right.
It doesn't create anything of its own. It
can't.
Is able to steal from so many people that no one can sue them.
Yeah.
But there's fear, there's lack of agency where people don't feel they can stand up in a meeting and say something. All these things are fixable through what you guys do, team building and making people feel like important stakeholders in their team or their company or their industry. And it just, I mean, it's the silver bullet, right? If you can turn that switch, your people, the recidivism and the quit rate goes through the floor. People are happier. They tell people that they're happy. They enjoy their time at work. Their work output is better, and it doesn't require a major financial investment. It requires an investment in the well-being of your people.
Right.
And even if you don't care about your people, if you care about your bottom line, the dollars and cents of your business, investing in your people's well-being is the best way to get there.
I don't
So
think
you can be a horrible human being
Yep.
and still pretend to care about well-being and happiness, and it will serve your nefarious, evil goals, Voldemort.
And that's coming from Jimmy Neutron's dad, everybody.
That's right. I know a thing or two about weird stuff.
Oh, my team out there. That's Mark DeCarlo, everybody. Oh. Thank you. Yes. Yes. Oh, see, that's what a roadcaster does for everybody. It's right there. That's
Like it.
That's everything
Like
it
it.
does. Mark,
The applause should have been longer, but who am I to say?
well, if we do that, I mean, like you said earlier in the show, we've been talking now for 3 days. So, I mean,
Right,
I got to make
exactly.
this a little shorter for
There'd have to be union
drive
breaks
time.
involved at some point.
Exactly. So, but Mark, let me ask you, how can people find out more about you? What projects do you have upcoming you want to tell everybody about? You know, let's let them reach out to you.
Oh, sure. If you're looking for me to come and talk to your folks, the best place to go is markdecarlospeaker.com. And I'll put a car stereo in your car and also teach you.
You
how
jumped
to-
me. You got me by that much.
It's Pioneer speakers and a subwoofer in the trunk. It's going to be beautiful. They'll hear you coming from 6 blocks away.
Yep.
MarkDeCarloSpeaker.com. You can follow me at Instagram, Mark DeCarlo TV. I'm on Blue Sky. I'm sort of still on Twitter, but not loving that at the moment.
Thank you.
That's the best way
Okay.
to find me. And I've got a movie that I wrote and produced that stars a bunch of famous cartoon actors called Pinocchio and the Water of Life that's coming out at the end of summer.
Awesome.
And a project that I've been working on that it'll be the first of its kind is a live to air Pixar quality cartoon character that hosts podcasts and talks to celebrities and causes trouble. It's Bafo the Bear, and that'll be coming probably in September.
Very cool.
And then maybe some Nickelodeon things.
Nice.
But there's a big bottleneck there because of their corporate overlord and all that stuff. So again, even looking at my career from outside of it, it's not. I think a lot like your career. It's not that my one brother of mine is a lawyer. The other one is an optometrist. So their work is, they know what they're going to do all the time and
Yeah.
they love it and
Yeah.
they understand it. My career has been so splintered. And the reason for that is I always try and follow things that just interest me.
Okay.
And I could have made more money throughout my career, I think. I've
Yep.
turned down some jobs that went on to be really big TV jobs, but I don't know that I could have been any happier.
That's that, and there you go. I have always
Right?
said it. I've always said throughout my entire life, I never wanted to be wealthy. I just wanted to be happy. And
Right.
I
And if
got
I
to
can
be
be
there.
wealthy and happy, great. But if it's a choice between the two,
Yep.
if you're happy, by definition, you have what you need to
Yeah.
thrive.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So it doesn't matter if you're driving a $600,000 car because you're lonely and you don't have a spouse and you have to drive around and try and, meet 23-year-olds and impress them with your money and your wallet and everything that people in LA talk about. It's such a simple concept. It's hard to convince people that they're not doing it right, and that they need someone else to come in and teach their people about it. But nowhere in school did I ever have a class where a professor said that to me. It's like, your job as a human is to make yourself, and by trickle down, the people around you that you love, your friends, as happy as possible. That's the game of life, in my opinion.
Yep.
And your happiness is probably different than my happiness.
Right.
which is why there are firemen and garbage men and surgeons and people that do what we do. Your first job is to determine your purpose. So that we talk a lot about that is what is it that makes you tick? And it may be something that you've never even thought of before. Then once you figure that out, you build out happiness, and that will lead you to making money and finding love and being successful and feeling important and all the things that people need. If you constantly focus on when am I happiest? That's the first thing I do in my workshops. Everyone, take a minute now. When was the last time you were deliriously happy? What were you doing? Rich, what were you doing the last time you were deliriously happy?
It was actually not yesterday, because that's when I was flying all day, but the day before I was standing in front of an audience of 90 and they were laughing at almost everything I said.
Do more of that.
Okay.
That's really the kernel of what I talk about. Yeah. Now, the mechanics of how you can make more of that happen in your life, that's the grit and that's the work of doing it. But there are some people, I'm sure you know, the number one fear in the world among the general population is talking in front of people.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Which I find, like, I've been doing it so long, I'm more comfortable sometimes in front of 1,000 people just because you know how it feels and it makes you feel good. So whatever it is that you do, number one, figure out what that is. And number two, do more of it.
And I got to clarify about that happiness, the last happy thing I was doing. The thing that I loved most about it, the thing that tickled me most about it was, in the beginning of it, it was definitely me. I'm that guy we used to watch in 70s television who just put plates on little sticks. And tries to keep the plates all going. And that guy was a comedic genius in my young mind. But that was me in the beginning, where it was all like, here's this goofy little thing that you all didn't realize you were going to have to do tonight. But while you're doing it, I start making a little bit of fun with everybody going on, and I allowed them in that moment to laugh at themselves. And once I did it, it was like a cork coming off the bottle of champagne. Everybody decided that they wanted to be funny. They wanted to be entertaining. When I called, I would call volunteers up to do a recreation of a scene, and all of them were ridiculously hilarious. And because they were free to do it, they didn't know how to not look. They didn't know how to not be funny in that moment, including being most foolish looking they've ever been.
Yes, and the failure didn't bite them. It's what you can do is if they do fail, you're like, give it another shot. That you could have done better. It takes the stigma and the embarrassment away from doing crazy stuff.
Right.
And if you're truly trying to be creative, you have to create something that doesn't exist yet. And there's a lot of good ideas that already exist. Yep. So you got to really open up your mind. And there are methods that creative people can teach people that aren't necessarily innately creative to do that. There's exercises and things that teach your brain to think in a different way and to hear things funny. But yes, I always find the more people you can bring on stage with you and involve them in the process. Yep. And even if they do something foolish, you support them and you have fun with it. And instantly they go from mortified to laughing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it tells the next person that's going to come up on stage, I don't have to be afraid of being stupid.
Right. It's not foolish. It's hilarious.
Fine line. It's a fine line.
Exactly.
Fine line. Gallagher.
Yes.
The guy would smash watermelons. If you did that on the street, they'd throw you in jail. The guy was a millionaire when he died.
Yeah.
It's finding your thing. And because we're all individual, unique, idiosyncratic people, your thing may not exist yet. You may have to invent it.
Right.
And don't be afraid to do that. And that's what drew me to your site and your podcast.
Beautiful.
You guys have a very fun, team-oriented approach to doing the kind of stuff that we do. And it seems like you must love your job, which clearly you do because you're so good at it.
Thank you. Can I say the same right back to you? I mean, you know what? For both of us, there it is. Well, I'm still not doing the whole thing, though. It's like 3.5 minutes. But Mark, this has been great. It has been absolutely wonderful. For the first time in 6 years, we're about to go to an hour. Because
is that good, bad?
It's
that means
good.
Camille's going to have to cut it up.
We might have to do a double episode on this one, which I'm very happy to do. It means I have to work less throughout the entire.
I think America needs more of us, Rich.
I think so too. I've been saying that to everyone who doesn't want to listen to me. But speaking of listening,
do you ever come out to LA and do improv stuff?
I never get to come out and do improv stuff. I have gone out and done team building stuff in LA. The last time I was out there, we were doing an escape room that was based on werewolves. So it was about trying to escape from a village filled with werewolves. And it was wonderful and alarming because I had to try to navigate LA streets. And nobody told me that the actual event was taking place in Disneyland. They gave me an address, and I'm trying to find it.
They just said Harbor Boulevard, and they didn't tell you what it was.
No. So it was such an experience.
You're looking for a corporate headquarters, and there's Goofy slapping Donald.
But to this day, I and the people I was happy enough to work with during that event, we still talk about it. We still laugh. We still have a good time talking about it. And that's what this team building thing does.
Right?
Yes!
If it's horrible and it's a team, it's a war story that you tell for years. The improv group I had before Second City, we were opening for Robin Trower somewhere.
Okay.
Bad booking for an improv group. We walk out on stage and someone in the back yells, "Get off the stage, you fat F." That was our opening.
Nice.
And, the show went into the tank, and we laugh about it 20 years later because it was so funny.
Nice. I hope you do continue laughing because I gotta get to this eventually, man. It's time for my speed round.
Your sound effects need to be longer.
Thank you very much. All right.
That's better.
Here's how this is going to work. I'm going to put 60 seconds of music on. During that time, I'm going to ask you a series of completely silly questions. You feel free to answer however you wish. This is a way for us to get to know you a little more personally, a little better.
Okay.
But if you're feeling it all like you want to be competitive and have a fun game of it, I'm trying to see if I can beat 15 questions in 60 seconds.
All right, so you want short, concise answers, not the way I've been talking for
whatever
the last
you
hour.
like, man. You be you. I'm not going to stop you. You're the Emmy winner. I'm just a dude sitting in his house.
Well, I mean, if I wanted to be a dick, I could stiff you and just make one answer last 49 seconds.
I have no doubt that you can. All right, buddy.
You can talk about nothing longer than me, my friend. All right.
Here we go.
60 seconds on the clock.
There we go. And as soon as I start to hear the music, I'm going to ask the question. Let's do this. What's your name?
Mark.
And if you could, what would you rather have?
Stop. You got to be faster on the questions. I answered instantly.
Oh.
And then I waited 3 or 4 seconds for the next question.
I have been doing this.
We're never going to get to 16
I have
questions.
been doing this for 6 years. You are the first person to call me out on that. Everybody should. All right. We're gonna go again. I'm keeping this
60 seconds on the clock, please.
By the way, I'm keeping all of this in. None of this is getting cut.
I think you should. I have a dragon mask. You want me to wear the dragon mask while I do this?
I can't stop you. You're in LA.
No, that's true. Everyone's got a dragon mask here. All right.
Okay. Here we go. Ready? Oh, even my dog is barking now. All right. Here we go. 60 seconds. Hey, what was your name?
Mark.
Would you rather have a robot helper or a dog who can speak English?
Dog who can speak English.
What's your favorite guilty pleasure TV show?
More Rick and Morty.
How do you decide to stay creative?
I just do weird stuff every day.
Pancakes or waffles?
Waffles?
Go-to karaoke song?
I don't sing karaoke. It's the bane of the world.
What's your first job?
My first job was stocking fishing line in Sport Mart for about an hour before I quit.
Anything on your bucket list?
We're going to Rio for Carnival next year.
Tell me when you can remember laughing the hardest.
Borat, in the theater the Friday night it came out.
Nice. If you could be any fictional character for a day, who'd it be?
Benjamin Franklin.
Favorite flavor of ice cream?
Rocky Road.
If you could work remotely from anywhere in the world, where would you choose?
Italy.
Best career advice you've ever received.
Oh, Buck Henry told me to keep being funny.
I believe we've hit 15, my friend.
Really?
Yeah. If I've done my math correctly, and I might not have because I think you gave me a stroke about halfway through, but I believe we've hit 15. I will double check it and let my audience know.
Is tying the record or it's establishing
tying
a new
the
world
record, but it's tying the record over 6 years. So I'm still trying to see if I can beat it.
I did stutter on a couple.
So did I. But remember, we're a team, bud, and we did 15. That's awesome.
Exactly. Perfect way to land this whole thing. We are a team, and yes, 1,000%.
And as a member of your team, if you ever need anybody to do long distance voice work, please let me know. I'm always available.
Are we done?
We are now. Give it up for Mark DeCarlo, everybody.